Hi everyone, my name is Cameron Parsons and I'm due to start the EASA Integrated ATPL program at Skyborne on June 15th. I'm very excited about it, and I'm also very excited to be able to speak to Skyborne CEO Lee Woodward and COO Ian Cooper and ask a few questions. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me today.
Thanks, Cameron. Good
Pleasure.
to speak to you.
So my first question is the big one, especially for me. Why is now a good time to start pilot training, despite the worries that many of us have about the future of the airline industry because of the situation with COVID-19?
I could have predicted that one coming up, Cameron, but Ian, I'm guessing you'd like me to take that one.
Sure. After you.
Yeah, okay. Well, look, in all seriousness, Cameron, I suppose I should, because I have gone on record recently making a comment or two to that effect. The first thing to say is it's clearly a personal choice when you come into flight training, whenever that is, and it's got to suit your lifestyle at that time. However, there's always a dichotomy, I think, when you enter training in a boom period when airlines are recruiting hand over fist, because there's always that sensation that you're losing a lot of seniority places, for instance. I mean, just from a personal example, when I entered the cadet program with British Airways, I deferred my entry for a year so I could complete my third year at university. And I actually lost just under 600 seniority places in that period until I got into the airline. And that had significant effects throughout my career. Eventually it washed out. So if you're going in a boom period, it can be a little bit like that. However, if you're going in a period where there isn't much recruitment, and that's going to be the case for the next, say, 18 months or so, then you're not going to lose much ground. And if it suits your personal circumstance to get that training out of the way, then in a way you can allow all of this sort of chaos around you to be going on whilst you're just getting your head down and training. And if you get the timing right, it could be that not long after, or even, if you're very lucky, as you leave training, obviously opportunities could well start. Now, we can never predict that, which is why we've put the skills continuation training together, because, there is some likelihood, a reasonable likelihood, that there may be that furlough will continue for a period. And that's why our commitment to our graduates is that we'll continue to offer them some support, both through a mentoring system and selection preparation, but more importantly, continuation training. So that's going into the simulator every 3 months. And eventually, if you still haven't been placed by the end of the year, we'll do a revalidation of your IR. So I hope that sort of covers it, but that is genuinely my view. It's a bit of a bag, the pros and cons, but if it suits your personal lifestyle, then I wouldn't fret too much about it.
Sure. Is it fair to say that you could make the most progress in terms of seniority right when you finish training, and let's say the COVID-19 pandemic is over, then you could make the most progress in terms of seniority until the next situation or the next furlough happens?
Well, first of all, I would hope that there won't be a next furlough for quite some time. It's really, really interesting, because aviation tends to run on, people believe, maybe a 7-year cycle of boom, and not so much bust, but maybe boom and then some kind of slowing down. Although we have had, since, say, 1990, where we had the Gulf War, that caused some issues with regards to recruitment. We then had some financial issues in the late 90s. I think they had less of an impact, just from personal experience, because I was flying then. 9/11 terror attacks had some impact, clearly. And then the global financial crisis, 2007 and 8, had a significant impact. When you look at that pattern, it's sort of a 5 to 7 year cycle. But frankly, this one came out of the blue, because go back to October, November, Ian and I were engaged in discussions with airlines, and airlines were worrying about where their pilots were going to be coming from over the next 5 years. So this is a real surprise. However, I think the underlying health at the moment within industry generally, and particularly within the aviation industry, the underlying health is reasonably strong. And therefore, once we have something like a vaccine, or certainly a safe way to travel that gives consumer confidence again, I think the industry will recover. Aviation is resilient.
Yeah.
But in terms of whether you'll make gains in seniority, which is really your question, it's hard to say whether you'll make gains, but you're certainly not going to be losing places during this period. And that's the point I would make. And if it happens to be that one of our partner or customer airlines starts recruiting as you finish your training, you'll be in good shape.
Okay, that's good to hear. So my next question is, I personally am due to start on the integrated ATPL program in June, but I've heard that there's also a modular course. What are the benefits of the modular course compared to the integrated ATPL? What are the benefits to each?
It really comes down to personal circumstances. I mean, at Skyborne, we sort of equally place emphasis on the training, so that whether you go through the modular route or the integrated route, when you come out and graduate, you come out with the same skill set. So we don't differentiate between the two in terms of saying, if you take the modular route, you get this training. If you take the integrated route, you take this training. We actually make sure that the graduate at the end of the process has the same qualities, the same training experience. So it really comes down to personal circumstances. And I suppose where the modular benefits over the integrated could be where you can't commit to the full 18 months of training or 67 weeks. So if you have, commitments, family commitments, work commitments, you might only be able to do a module at a time. So that's where the modular training really lends itself well to people's personal circumstances. Of course, if you can commit to the full-time course, like you're doing so yourself, then it's great from a training continuity point of view. You don't get any gaps in training. You get a full training record with the one ATO, so the airline has complete visibility of how you've progressed through. And that's recognised, but we certainly don't say one's better than the other. We just say we place equal emphasis, and it's really down to personal circumstances.
Great, thank you. So for all the cadets doing the integrated course, do they all have space to live at the new Skyborne accommodation block?
Yeah, I mean, we're really excited about that. So it's currently just under the redevelopment process. So we're expecting to move into that in July. So it's going to be really good. The accommodation is set up so there's 5 bedrooms to 1 kitchen. There's a common room area downstairs, which will have like a pool table area, coffee lounge, study area, and a sort of TV lounge area. So it's going to be great to really sort of immerse the whole learning experience, because obviously you're going to be in class or flying during the day, but in the evening you can go and relax, but still carry on that learning experience, sharing ideas and experiences with fellow colleagues. So it'd be a really good experience. So yeah, so there'll be space for everyone. It's going to have 88 bedrooms. Really looking forward to moving into that.
I've seen photos. It looks so nice. I can't wait. But did you say it opens in July?
Yes, yeah. So we've currently got builders in there now, and they're developing or redeveloping and upgrading it to meet our standards. So yeah, it's going to be really good. So we currently use 5-bedroom houses that are sort of selected carefully throughout Cheltenham, and that's where our current cadets are living. Well, I mean, our cadets actually aren't living there because they're all learning from home. But when we return, those cadets will return to those houses in Cheltenham, so our premises are open again.
So if I start on June 15th, then where would I be living for the first 2 weeks of the course? At this rate, maybe I'll be working from home as well, but...
Yeah, so the plan is obviously very dynamic. It's evolving every day, but the plan at the moment is that we're continuing with the remote learning and only bringing people into the school where it's essential. So when exams get released, for example, cadets will come into the school to do some prep, ready for the exams, complete the exams, and then go back into remote learning. And the flying operation, which is due to recommence shortly, again, it'll only be essential flying that's taking place. So in your personal circumstance, yeah, you'll commence the course remotely and start that way. I have to say it's gone very well. I mean, the course that started last month, they've been doing it. They've never actually been into the Skyborne facility other than when they came to our open day and completed the assessment, and they've started remotely and they've built friendships up already. I had a call with them yesterday actually with 2 of them, and they've made friends with their group remotely using WhatsApp and so on. So it's worked really well, and they're really engaged in the system. So yeah, it's a tried and tested procedure now.
Good to hear. Great, thank you so much. Yeah.
On one of the points you raised about the modular versus integrated, just in the interest of completeness. The integrated pathway, providing you complete the selection to the right standard, has the Skyborne guarantee that runs entirely through the training program. So that's the form of money back guarantee or additional training. You probably know the details behind it. It's on the website if you don't. And that runs from start to finish through the integrated program. And I think also it's fair to say, right or wrong, that still some airlines have policies whereby they may or may not recruit modular pilots into their organization. So just in the interest of full disclosure, that's currently still the situation as far as we're aware. So Ian, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe there are any airlines that won't accept integrated, but there are one or two that still have some kind of issue over the modular pathway.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for that input. My next question is, Skyborne ATPL trainees complete all of their pilot training at your headquarters at Gloucestershire Airport since the facilities in Spain have closed. What are some of the highlights I've got to look forward to in Gloucester, at Gloucestershire Airport?
I think it's our whole sort of approach to training that you'll really benefit from. The vertically integrated training. So the minute you walk in the training centre, well, actually taking it back from that, you'll commence remote learning initially, and the minute you start remote learning with us, we treat you like an airline pilot. We expect you to behave like an airline pilot. We'll develop you as an airline pilot, and all the training touch points that we have that goal in mind. So some of the methods we use, like risk assessments before you go flying, encouraging things like stable approach criteria that probably don't mean a massive amount to you at the moment, but we bring all that in right from the beginning. So the way you're even taught in ground school touches on those pieces. So we really think that vertically integrated training piece really adds a lot of value to you. So you can look forward to that. The progressive continuous learning. So when you come back into the full-time ground school, that means you learn all of the theory and then you go and practice it straight away. So an example of that would be mass and balance, for example. You'll have the lesson in the morning and then you'll go into our operations center in the afternoon and see live cadets out there in their flight, working out their mass and balance. And then we'll take it another step further. You'll then actually go and backseat on the flight as well to really understand how important the mass and balance calculations are. So that's our sort of PCL, progressive continuous learning practice that we put in place. And that's just an example of one of many that you'll do. So you've got that to look forward to, the exciting facilities we've spoken about, the accommodation, that'll be an excellent experience living with all of your fellow cadets. Training center, it's all in one location. So we have the jet simulator there, so you'll benefit through using that in your ground school. Really helps bring the whole subject of ATPL theory alive. And our cadets go into the simulators quite a bit to really emphasize some teaching points. And hopefully you'll see the training center is a really nice place to be. That's Lee and I and Tom's goal, is to actually make it a really engaging place to live and work. And I think that's reflected when you speak to any of the cadets. They'll tell you that, see that firsthand when you go there. But I mean, the main thing in terms of, to answer your question, what will you benefit from? I mean, our whole setup at Skyborne is to really inspire you and develop you as an individual to achieve those goals of being an airline pilot. And that's exactly what we do from day one. When you walk in the door, you'll see that and you'll see all the benefits of it. And we're really looking forward to welcoming you into the centre. Yeah,
I was there actually at the open day in January, and I got to fly the Diamond simulator. It was really good.
Excellent.
Really nice facilities.
Good.
But my follow-up question to that would be, now that you've closed the training facilities in Spain, is it going to have an effect on the demand for the facilities and the aircraft in Gloucester?
No, I don't think so. So what we've relocated the aircraft, or in the process of relocating the aircraft in Spain. We've actually added additional capacity. Just at the weekend, we took delivery of another DA40. So we've actually expanded our fleet. So our fleet is now a total of 10 aircraft, and we'll continue to expand that obviously as we grow. So we've definitely got enough aircraft for the training volume that we're taking on board. And we've carefully thought that through to make sure the different stages, we have obviously all the right equipment. So there'll be no sort of downside to that move, bringing everything sort of centrally into Gloucester.
Okay, good. My last question will be for both of you, because I know that both of you were former BA captains. It is simply, why do you think being an airline pilot is such a good?
Well, of course, you're asking that to two, aviation nuts when it comes to Ian and I. It's sort of, well, I speak for myself. I don't know, Ian feels the same way. It's in my blood. Without sounding too cliched, it's as a job. It's first of all, from being a young child, it's all I ever wanted to do. So how fortunate can one be when you get to realize your dream? But actually doing the job, it feels like a continuous sort of pinch yourself moment. You can be taking off on a rainy day in London and flying to Los Angeles and landing not only in a different climate, different culture. I really mean that. That's how I've always viewed my flying. I love it. I love the job. I think it has a great balance between the technical challenges, that ability to assert a sense of responsibility. It's something that you can really be passionate about, delivering excellence generally all the time, every time you go to work. So you're offering a safe and enjoyable passage for the passengers, and so on and so on. Plus also it's great fun, meet some great people. And in an airline like the size of British Airways, it's unusual to fly with the same person twice, certainly within a couple of years. So it's very, very varied. And that's my take on it.
Yeah, very similar, Cameron. It's just, to me, it's the best job there is. It's not, and I wouldn't class it as a job almost. It's, you're being paid for something you absolutely love. It's, seeing the world from 40,000 feet gives you a completely sort of different perspective on life. You sort of watch the world going by beneath you. As Lee said, you get to meet many people from all sorts of different backgrounds, different cultures, different experiences. And the career itself, there's so many different pathways you can go. You can go from being a first officer to the captain to a training captain. You can get really involved in the training management side. You can get involved in the operational management side, things like fleet management, safety management. So there's so much of a different pathway your career can take just within being an airline pilot. And I just think it's just, as I said, I don't think it's a job. It's just such a rewarding.
Yeah.
It's so fortunate for those people that can actually do it, because when you look at the amount of people that are airline pilots, there's actually not that many compared to the population, obviously. So it's just a really, really great job and very exciting, and as Lee said, really good fun.
This camera may not translate, but it's just how I feel. I've always felt this way. But when you're training and you're learning, you're developing your skills and your knowledge, clearly. And then it's the application of those skills and knowledge, or sometimes known as the attitude and the professionalism you're developing. But what starts off as quite a technical role and a skill-based role, I think over time becomes almost an art. You go to work to fly the aeroplane in a completely different way. It's because of the people who overlay the passion on that then. And I think the best airline pilots, if you like, it becomes an art rather than a skill, and that may not translate properly, but that's how I've always felt, and I still do, even though I don't fly now. I miss it, and I would love to get back to do some flying. I think it's a tremendous career, and I think it's one that you've made the right decision on.
Great, fantastic. It's very inspiring to hear. Those are all my questions today, and thank you to you, Lee and Ian, and thank you to everyone watching. You can view more Ask Skyborne videos on our social media pages, or if you have questions, please email fly@skyborne.com. I hope my questions are all right.
Thanks, Cameron.
Great.
That was
thanks,
great.
Cameron.